Tomás Byrne, le do chor.
Magad ceann córa. Tá ceisio dírithe stad na rúnathe agus na fáilíthe sa scoilne ar fud na tíre seo a bhfuil gá chóras pá acu agus cuid acu ar conrathe bún le pension agus cuid acu eile ar conra zero mar a deartha. So this is about the two-tier structure with regard to school secretaries and school caretakers, and particularly the fact that some of them are on, a very small amount of them, on permanent pensionable jobs, like they should be, while the vast majority are on effectively zero-hour contracts, as the department would have it. And the question seeks to ask when negotiations will start, as mandated and agreed by the department already in the WRC process.
Gurmagad Cam Corla agus Gurmagad as an Chakti Fonian Cash Tawakta agus Salir Goal Roll Larna Okup na Runiha Sachir Shaw agus Nadanya Egol Cabain Kashmiri no Chakta Dali no and Pobble Egol Gajin Skull and Ked Danya Has Leofus and Rooney again Doris agus shit to the Rooney ag Yanu Fury Rucht agus to Dulgish more Otu footed and Scullina Bulgarai agus Gormagad Arishas as and Cash Chak the Byrne. I do recognise the very important work carried out by school secretaries and indeed by other support staff in the running of our schools, and I am grateful to them for the contribution they make to our education system. I've spoken to a number of school secretaries about their employment conditions and understand the issues they have raised. Schemes were initiated in 1978 and 1979 for the employment of clerical officers and caretakers in schools. The schemes were withdrawn completely in 2008. These schemes have been superseded by the more extensive capitation grant scheme. The current grant scheme was agreed in the context of the Programme for Economic and Social Progress published in 1991. I've recently relaxed the moratorium for those community comprehensive and ETB schools with enrolments of 700 and more, which will allow them to employ an additional school secretary up to a maximum of 2 per school. There are 91 schools in the CNC and ETB sector who meet this criteria based on the information currently available to this department. This is an initial step and has taken immediate effect. The majority of primary and voluntary secondary schools now receive assistance to provide for secretarial, caretaking and cleaning services under these grant schemes. It is a matter for each individual school to decide how best to apply the grant funding to suit its particular needs. Where a school uses the grant funding for caretaking or secretarial purposes, any staff taken on to support those functions are employees of individual schools. Specific responsibility for the pay and condition rests with the school. On foot of a chairman's note to the Lansdowne Road Agreement, my department engaged with the unions representing school secretaries and caretakers, including through an independent arbitration process in 2015. The arbitrator recommended a cumulative pay increase of 10% between 16 and 19 for staff, and that a minimum hourly rate of €13 be phased in over that period. Maybe just to give, I know there was a specific question around when, so just to give to the Deputy, the Department has agreed to arrange a meeting with the Forester Trade Union and is currently making arrangements for this meeting to take place in late May or early June.
It goes without saying that the great work that school secretaries and school caretakers do, and may I say that with all of the circulars that your department fires at schools on a regular basis and that still continue, secretaries actually have to take up a huge amount of the administrative burden that schools face with new circulars. So it is welcome that your department will start talks. I think I would like to know the specifics of them. Are these talks in accordance with the WRC recommendation of 4 years ago, or are they just talks about talks? And when will this inequality end? Because it is unequal. And when you look at a crazy scenario at the moment, where ETB schools all have pensionable permanent secretaries and other patron bodies don't, but where you have a plebiscite of parents to decide which patron will take over schools, as you've had many of them in the last couple of years, if an ETB body takes over the patronage of a school that you're establishing, the secretary there would be permanent and pensionable. But if Educate Together or CPMSA or whoever of the other patron bodies, Gael Scullna, take over the patronage, their secretaries won't have permanent pensionable jobs. And I think that's very unfair, it's very wrong, and it needs to end, Minister. and I think that these talks, I hope, that we've been asking for some time, will be the start of it.
Yeah, well, look without predetermining how the talks will develop, but the important thing is that they're meeting initially. I'm on public record as saying this is an issue, and there is an anomaly here for a lot of these secretaries. And I agree with you. A lot of the issues raised here by politicians down the years, and nothing has been done down the years, and I want to end that. I want to acknowledge the campaign that the secretaries are having through their Force Trade Union, and also just to let the Deputy in the House be aware that I'm going to meet, there's a meeting arranged with Force with this respect as well on a number of other issues, but specific to secretaries as well. So I want to just once again just put on record of the House that we are due to meet them late May of this month or early June, and I want to see a pathway to ensure that we come to some sort of certainty for these very, very hard-working people, and also to include caretakers in that as well.
We've been asking for this. The WRC has mandated this, and it has taken a union campaign to actually implement the terms of the WRC. I've met the Force of Trade Union, school secretaries and caretakers myself. This is something that needs to end. It needs to end very soon, because the problem is if there's not a scale set out, like teachers have, like SNAs have, if there's not a scale, any increase that's given, like was given before, becomes a ceiling rather than a floor. And I think that's a real problem. I think it is not fair that the secretary, the one who knows probably all of the children, all of the parents, all of the staff, is the one person in many schools who doesn't have certainty about usually her employment, in some cases his employment, but usually her. It is an overwhelmingly female profession. They have not got certainty, and that is wrong, and that needs to end. And we need to bring back something similar to what pertained before and what still pertains to this day in the ETB sector.
Happy to work with you on this, and just to acknowledge the presence of the chair of the Joint Committee as well, that I'll keep the committee informed, I'll keep the House informed here, as well as to how things develop in the next number of weeks. And just to reiterate again, we need to develop a comprehensive mechanism here that will give a pathway to a resolution here, but the initial point of contact conversations have to happen, and I just want to reiterate again that when my officials meet with Forza, we're there to sit down and have a comprehensive overview and look at ways of trying to find a solution here, rather than just meeting for the sake of meeting.